There is a difference of opinion amongst the commentators as to whether the opening part of our Parsha Yithro, did the Yithro come before Matan Torah or after Matan Torah? The Ramban, who holds consistently that the Torah is chronologically written, and that we therefore, if the Parsha of Yithro coming appears before the Parsha of the Aseret HaDvorim Matan Torah, then that is the correct order, and that's how it happened. The other Meforshim rely on Midrashim and other ideas to say that he came afterwards. But the opinion of the Ramban is based on the idea of Ein HaMikra Yotze Mirei Pshuto. Rashi's opinion and other Meforshim is because Ein Mukdam U'Muchar BaTorah, that the Torah does not follow, so to speak, any chronological rules, and therefore there are reasons why the Torah placed these parshas or these subjects in this order, but it doesn't mean that chronologically it happened in this order and in that fashion. Now, according to the Ramban, so many Meforshim here say, why did the Torah deign to tell us that Yithro came and he brought Zipporah and he brought Moshe's two sons? We're talking here about Matan Torah. We're talking here about divine revelation. Here all of a sudden the Torah, which told us very little about Moshe, told us only how he was born and saved from the Nile, and then all of a sudden he appears 80 years later. And all of a sudden the Torah tells us that Yithro came and he brought Moshe's family with him. So there's a famous parish to the Torah, the Akedas Yitzchak, Rabbi Yitzchak Aramah. And he has an interesting idea here. And his idea is that before Matan Torah, there, so to speak, has to be a reunification of the family. There has to be Shalom Bayis. There has to be a society. There has to be an entity to give the Torah to. And so in order to emphasize that point, to drive it home, so the Torah in effect tells us that if Moshe, if his wife and his children, his family were not with him, they're not going to get the Torah. Yibon Shalom Kaviyachal is not willing to grant the Torah without that sense of family unity and that sense of shalom, of harmony between generations, between different people. And so he says that this Parsha of Yithro, Yithro came and he brought that is a necessary prelude to the rest of the Parsha, which will deal with Matan Torah. So, in effect, I didn't see this in him, but I think it's the same idea. In effect, there are bookends to the Torah. And the bookends are Shalom. Before the Torah can be given, there has to be Shalom. And the Gemara teaches us at the end of Mishnayos, the end of Uktzin, Lo motza HaKadosh Baruch Hu keli magzik bracha ela shalom. The Rabbanu Shalom found no utensil that can hold the blessings that God wants to bestow upon us. Only peace is the utensil. And peace, it means acceptance of others. It means a harmony with others who are going to not be like us. Our children are not like us. Our grandchildren are not like us. Moshe is not Yithro. But nevertheless, Moshe is willing to heed the advice of Yithro. Moshe has the ability to say, was mishter zacharein? Who asked him? When the Jewish people were enslaved in Egypt, he didn't have much to say. The Gemara says, Yisro Borach. He ran away. He didn't want to tell Paro that it's wrong. And now, and he's the Kohen of Midian, right? So he's a cardinal in the church. And he's coming to tell me how to run the Jewish people. So except for the fact that that's a prerogative of a father-in-law, it really should make us wonder. And yet we see how Moshe and Aaron treat him. And Moshe will say later when he wants to leave, he said, Al no ta'azov osanu, don't go away. Or yisalonu leinoyim, you have so much to contribute here. So that's a lesson in Shalom. That's a lesson in the ability. And the opposite of Shalom is naturally Sina. Hatred. Because hatred is unreasoning. It's counterproductive. It destroys the hater just as much as the hated. And we have countless examples of that. And unfortunately, we live in a time where hatred is exalted. I don't know whether this is a true thing or not, but when I heard once a day I look at the news to see why I shouldn't look at it. And so there was a poll in the state of Massachusetts in the United States in which the people were asked, if you have two choices, that a meteor, God forbid, should strike the earth and end all human life, or that Donald Trump be reelected. And 62% said they'd rather have the meteor. So that's a joke, probably. I don't know, maybe not, But that's what Chazal meant, Sina Mekalkelis as Ashura. Hatred. So hatred is unreasoning. The Rebbeinu Shalom can't give a Torah based on hatred. Because everything in the Torah, Rabbi Akiva says, Zeh klal gadol b'Torah v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. That's the basis of the Torah. That's why it's lo tignov. Because how can you take from somebody else? And that's true of lo sirtzach. How can you take someone's life? And how can you lie? And how can you be immoral? All of that only comes from hatred. But if somehow I have the feeling of shalom, of harmony, so then these things don't exist. No one feels that way. The Gemara says, for instance, that a parent's love for a child is such that there can be no din of machteret, of murder by a father to a son. The other way around, it can be, because the love of children to parents is much more conditional. Whereas the love of parents to children, in the last analysis, is unconditional, no matter what. So the Ribono Shel Olam wanted us to realize that. And that's why the Baal HaKedah says that the preference to Torah, the preface rather, to Matan Torah, the introduction to Matan Torah is that Tzipporah and Gershom and Eliezer came to join Moshe so that we have a whole family and we have Shalom Bayis, and then we can talk about Torah. And he says one more insight, a great psychological insight. He says that if you hate others, it's a symptom that you really hate yourself. So you deflect it to others. You project it upon others. As the Chazal said, Kol haposel b'mumo posel. What you say about others is what you say about yourself. And what you suspect about others is really what you are capable of doing. And therefore, that's why it's so real to you. And again, this is proven daily in our current existence. It's something that we're well aware of. It's something which affects us. So the basis for Torah are these two bookends. The bookend that of Moshe's family in the beginning, which is the symbol of internal shalom, to be whole with oneself. And the other bookend is Keli Masik Bracha Ela Shalom, that there has to be a utensil that holds the blessings of God. Otherwise, they're all wasted upon us. And we know that many people, they have, you look at people, they say they have everything, but it's no good. Why is that? Because within themselves, they don't have a feeling that somehow it's good. That somehow it is a Keli Marsik Bracha. And that's the idea of Godel HaSholom that the Gemara says. Shalom is the greatest. Now it's hard to achieve because of the challenges of life. And because we're always dealing with people who are different than we are and have different ideas. But nevertheless, the Torah wanted us to realize that, and therefore that, so to speak, is part of the reason for the order of events that appears in this week's Parsha of Kabbalah Satorah. לפיכך הרבו להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר אנוכי חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה ויאדיר.